Good evening. In this video I'm going to show you some pre-made encounters for MYFAROG and how I make them. It doesn't take very long to make them at all, and I think it's a good idea to have a good list of them to draw upon if needed whilst you're myth mastering a game. So I'll make some day and night encounters because they do differ somewhat. Nighttime you can come across corporal and incorporeal trolls and also ettins. So yeah, here you can see I've got 3 encounters which I've already made. So the first one is where we have a noble Fulean who is in distress because he has fallen into a bog and is stuck and he can't get out. So from here I made a DD12 to be able to pull him out successfully. So yeah, you know, obviously if you do roll that and if you get a critical failure, then perhaps the character ends up drowning in the bog. Semi-success might mean that you're able to move him a little bit, but not completely. So you can also modify that DD by for more than just one person in the character party able to assist, or if you have some useful items such as rope, might come in handy. And yeah, you might want to award some XP if the characters do help out the noble Fulean, as you probably should, because that's the worst fate possible, I think, for a noble Fulean to be in a bog. Now the second one I rolled randomly was turned out to be a ruler wolf, an aggressive one. He will ambush the character party, and he's going to be lurking near a stream in a woodland, so only 100 feet away from the character party, so that could be extremely dangerous. Might not want to use that one against, level 1 characters or people who are fairly new to the game, because ruler wolves are pretty darn fearsome and tough to kill. I think they weigh something like 2,600 pounds, and they've got mega stats, so very hard to defeat. Now the third one here, I got 5 peasants hunters, noble ones, and they are pacific or peaceful, and they're travellers. So from the Travels and Treasures booklet here, if you look at travellers, it gives you a whole host of possibilities how you can flesh out the encounter if you come across travellers. I decided that they're looking for outlaws, so from there I rolled again on the counter chart to see what type of outlaws, and from here we got 11 RB outlaws who are pillaging Fule, and these 5 brave peasants and hunters are trying to do a good deed by tracking them down. Now I also rolled on from the advanced tracking to find out how far away they are on page 62, and it turns out that they're only 18 minutes from where the peasants are. So the peasants have been tracking these outlaws for some time and very close. The encounter will take place by a stream. Perhaps the Arbis will be resting to get some water, or simply defiling. That's what they tend to do. From here you can, it's another encounter from an encounter, which are always interesting, in fact. And perhaps the player characters will be persuaded, or they might decide to join the peasants and hunters to track down these outlaw Arbis, and then pursue whatever mission or quest they were on, or if they were just simply roaming the land. Okay, so that was encounter number 3. Quite an interesting one, and I think pretty good one, especially for low-level characters. It's also a good idea to have some random NPC characters made. I'll make a video for that as well, so then You might not need to do that for all of the 5 peasants, but perhaps they have a leader, and you might want to call upon him and his personality, etc. Okay, so now I'm going to roll another encounter, D20, to see what type it will be, and that's a 13, so that will be animals and cursed trees. Let's roll a D20 again. That's an 8, so this time we have giant bat or giant rat, disease spreaders, or it could be rat swarm. Let's roll a D6 to see which. So that's a 4. So that will be giant rats. So we roll D6, multiplied by another D6 to see how many there will be. So that's 5 by 2, so 10 giant rats. Rather nasty indeed. From here we roll a D6 to see their behaviour. So from 1 to 5 they'll be aggressive, 6 peaceful. So I have a 1, so they will be aggressive. Now I'm going to look at travels and treasures to flesh out this encounter a little bit more. Okay, so let's roll a D8. That's a 1. So it looks like it's going to be an ambush, in fact. So I'm just putting that down, and so yeah, on a 1 to 5 on a D6, the player characters will be ambushed. It's a 1, so yeah, characters will be ambushed. Pretty nasty indeed. From here we can roll a D100 to find out the exact location of the encounter. Got a lot of nice options there. So let's roll a D100, and we have 58. So by a ford. So from here we can turn 2 forward just to get a nice, better description of that if needed. Let's just try and zoom out a little bit. Yeah, obviously there is no bridge because obviously it's a ford. We can say that it's a rather strong current on the river, so I'm going to give it a DD of 8 for the player characters to cross this ford without falling, so they can use their acrobatics for that. Of course, if they are quite heavily equipped, they might be encumbered, and that will make it somewhat more difficult to cross. And at some stage, let's say that perhaps as they're crossing the ford, or perhaps just afterwards, they get ambushed by these 10 giant rats. We can also roll in here, in fact, to see the distance if you want to. Now, I will do that, in fact, so that's a 5. So that's, I'm going to say it's in a forest, so I've got 600 feet. I'm going to halve that to 300 feet. Okay. So the giant rats will be approaching and will then ambush the player characters. So I'm going to make one more encounter now. So again, let's roll a D20. It's a 12. So again, animals and cursed trees. Another D20. That's a 2. So that will be, so this time poisonous creatures. So here we roll a D6. So a 6. So it's going to be a monster spider. Very interesting. Yep, so obviously all poisonous creatures are aggressive by nature. Whether it's day or night, they will pretty much always attack other creatures or characters. In fact, spiders, not spiders, sorry, yeah, centipedes are afraid of spiders. Anyway, so monster spider, it's aggressive. Let's roll on in Travels and Treasures to find out a little bit more about this encounter. So, I'm going to roll a d8. That's a 2. So, okay, I'm going to change that in fact, because we've already had ambush, so I'm going to put hunted. From here, we can turn to the hunted section. So you are being followed, perception DD 15, the size model of the creature to find out. Oh, sorry, minus the size model of the creature to find out. And the creature following does not seem to have any good intents. So, with it being a monster spider, it should have a pretty big size. I believe it's plus 10, but I'm just gonna make sure here. It's plus 10, yeah. So normally it would be a DD of 15, but let's take away 10 from that, and it will be a DD of 5 for the player characters to perceive the monster spider that is hunting them, perhaps through a woodland or wherever, maybe in a ravine in the mountains near to its lair. You can decide upon that. Let's check for the distance. 6. 3d6 multiplied by 10. So we have 12. So initially it's at about 1,200 feet from the players. You might want to increase the DD a little bit until the monster spider does get into a closer range of the player characters. That's entirely up to you. And yeah, I mean, and as soon as they do see or hear the monster spider, then they will have to decide what to do pretty quickly. I normally give my players a timer, like 10-15 seconds, to decide there and then what they're going to do, whether that's engage or just run away or climb somewhere. Bearing in mind that monster spiders can climb, of course, as well. So there we have it, 5 encounters for MYFAROG. Feel free to use those, of course, if you want to, or to modify them if you want. I mean, as you can see, it's pretty easy to make encounters, and it's always useful to have a good list of them as at hand, as I mentioned earlier, just to speed up the game a little bit, not have your players waiting too long as you try to work out what they encounter. So I hope you liked this video, and until next time, bye bye.